If you're an ambitious professional or leader from any walk of life, and you currently feel very stressed and you want to move towards success, toward productivity, toward high performance, my name's Nevern. I'm a clinical psychologist and I've got you because I've created a framework that helps ambitious, highly driven, high achieving individuals move towards success without sacrificing their well-being, without sacrificing their mental health. Today, I'm going to share that framework and I'm going to show you how it can provide you with an evidence-based path to professional and personal success and development. So if that's something that sounds interesting to you, please stay tuned because I'm going to reveal the secrets that I've used to help tons of professionals like accountants, doctors, lawyers, and managers, leaders, entrepreneurs to achieve success in their lives without feeling miserable along the way. This is From Stress to Success, the Perform Well framework. Let's dive right into it. So, we currently live in a society where we have this old paradigm. We're operating with this old way of thinking where we think that well-being and performance are two separate things. This is a very problematic paradigm, and here's the problem with it. If you treat well-being and performance as two separate things, every time you take care of your well-being, you'll be thinking that it's taking away from performance. Because in your mind, you have a limited amount of time, money, and effort, and you can only funnel a certain amount into performance and productivity, and so you don't have any left for well-being. Now, this is a bad way of thinking about things because this is actually not how performance works. What I've realized in my own life and in my individual therapy practice with many leaders and professionals is that well-being doesn't have to be sacrificed for performance. But in fact, well-being is the foundation for performance. Hence this arrow between well-being and performance. This is what I call performance through well-being. In other words, shortened form of this is perform well. It means to do better and to feel better at the same time. The perform part captures the behaviors, getting your behaviors right, your habits, engaging in the things you need to do, being productive, being creative, being high performing, achieving peak performance. That's what it means to perform. And doing it well means that you do it with a sense of well-being, a sense of wellness. You actually feel good along the way, which is something that not many people can say. Now, here's a scary statistic. 83% of all workers report feeling work-related stress. 83% of people. There's something going on worldwide that is not very good for our mental health. The way in which we're working is currently not working. 83% of people. That's a crazy amount of people. Now, here's another scary fact. 76% of people report feeling burnt out at least some of the time. 76%. That is over 3/4 of the world's working population that feels burnt out. And that's almost 4/5 of people who feel stressed on a daily basis. This is not sustainable. We need a new way of working. We need to move from the stress to a way of working that eventually leads to success and, more importantly, allows us to enjoy the journey along the way. Because what's the point of getting to the mountaintop if you don't enjoy the view now and then? This is what I call the Perform Well framework. And at this stage, when I explain it, many people ask, aren't there some people who achieve high performance without taking care of their well-being? To which I say, not really. It depends on how you define high performance. If you're defining high performance as performing at your best, then I would say, hell no. Nobody achieves their best performance by sacrificing their well-being. Nobody. I'll be so bold as to claim that. Because here's how I define high performance. High performance is sustained, it's seamless, and it's synergistic. So let's go through these one by one. What I mean by sustained is you don't just have one peak of performance and then you're done. You're actually able to keep bringing that day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, decade after decade. This is the kind of performance that is sustained. Your creative production keeps coming. We all know musicians and bands who have had a very good single or very good album and then they fizzle out. I don't define that as performing at your best. Performing at your best is sustained. You're able to consistently produce over a lifetime. If it's not sustained, It's not performing at your best. And well-being is what creates the sustainability, because when you enjoy what you do, as the famous quote goes, when you find work that you love doing, then you never work a day in your life, because your whole life becomes play. And that's working with a sense of well-being, with a sense of feeling good, with a sense of happiness. Now that's the first part of this definition, that high performance is sustained. Here's the second. High performance is synergistic. What I mean by this is that it works, all the parts of your life work in synergy with each other. When your work is going well, it's helping feed your relationships. When your relationships are going well, it's helping feed your hobbies and your recreational time. When that's going well, it's helping feed your health. And your health is helping feed your finances. Your finances are supporting the work you do, and so on. Synergistic means that everything is working together, and the energy in one area feeds the energy in another. Now, many people look like this image below, with the tree, where one tree is flourishing, but all the rest around them are dying. Many of our lives look this way, where we're putting so much into work that our relationships have been neglected. We disappear on people. We no longer treat our spouses the way we'd like to. We no longer show up for our children because we're spending long days at the office. I don't consider this performing at your best. And sure, some people can achieve some level of performance while all the other areas of their life are suffering, but that is not performing at your best. Performing at your best looks more like the image above, where your work is flourishing and that allows your personal life to be good. It allows you to be present with your children or your partner. It allows you to have good health, good sleep, good routines. This is what it means to perform well. It means synergistic. Now, here's the third part of the definition. Performing well means that it is seamless. What I mean by this is that it's like effortless effort. It's a state of flow almost, where when you're doing your work, you're absorbed, you're immersed in it. It feels natural, it feels intuitive, it flows, it's not forced. Many people, when they say they're performing at their best, are actually very tense doing it. They're putting in a lot of effort. They're going, ugh. And that sense of, ugh, that's not seamless. That is effortful, it's forced, it's anxious, it's done with a sense of urgency and tension. This is not what I mean by performing at your best. Performing at your best shouldn't feel like the image below where you're hiking up this mountain. I don't think that's performing at your best. I think when people are truly performing at their best, peak performance is attained in a flow state. It's attained when you're flowing with the work that you do, where you're rising to the challenge, but you're doing it with a sense of effortlessness. Like enlightenment is described by Suzuki. Enlightenment feels like everyday life just about a few inches off the ground. That is what it feels like to be performing at your best. It feels more like a waterfall in that first image above. Seamless. So you see, some people may say that they're performing at their best, but oftentimes they're not feeling sustained. The work doesn't feel seamless, and the work isn't synergistic with all the other parts of their lives. This is not what it means to be performing at your best. And so that is why I think well-being can serve you, because well-being allows you to sustain the mission because you enjoy it. Well-being allows the work to be seamless because you enjoy it. And well-being allows for the work to be synergistic because you're not sacrificing anything that makes you feel good in all the other areas of your life. And so this is why I say well-being leads to high performance. And at this stage, many people say, okay, this makes sense for most people, but can I still prioritize well-being while having huge, demanding dreams? What if my dreams are huge? What if I want to be world-class? What if I want to be the best at my craft? What if I want to reach the mountaintop? To which I would say, look at some people who have reached the mountaintop. I just need to provide you with a few examples in different areas that's possible. Look at the person on the top left, Rick Rubin. This is what Rick Rubin had to say. He said, you have to be in the moment and you have to be open to the moment. The best ideas come when you're not trying too hard. That is a perform well mindset. Richard Branson, the person in the top row in the middle, he said, "If I'm not having fun, I don't do it. That's been my golden rule." Oprah Winfrey said, "I believe when you're doing what you love, you're energized, not depleted." Naval Ravikant, bottom left, famous investor, says, "You can't enjoy wealth if you're not in good health, and that includes mental health." Bill Gates, bottom middle, says, "I felt like I needed to keep working all the time, but as I've gotten older, I've realized that it's not sustainable. You burn out. Rest is part of productivity." And then finally, Hermione Granger, or her real name, Emma Watson, not from Harry Potter, "I'm learning to protect my peace, and that's where I show up better." All of these people, through these quotes, display a perform well mindset. And these are just a few examples. But these are people who are world famous. We've got the person who was the richest man in the world at some stage. We've got one of the most famous music producers in Rick Rubin on the top left. We've got Oprah Winfrey, the richest woman in the world, Emma Watson, Naval Ravikant, Russell Branson. These are world famous people. These are people who have reached the mountaintop. These are people who have had tremendous success. These are people who are world famous. This idea is not just for small timers. This idea is for anyone who wants huge success, who wants to make something of their lives, who wants to leave a lasting impact and a legacy. You can have all of that while feeling good. Now we get to another question. This is another question I commonly have. Nevern, but how exactly does feeling better improve your actual performance? This doesn't make sense. Why would being happy make you better at your craft? How does that work? To which I show them this picture. So if you look at this picture, it's basically a tree. It's got a bit of floating soil. I don't know why the tree is floating in midair, but anyways, floating soil. It's got some branches. It's got some leaves. This is the only analogy you're going to need to know how it is that well-being leads to high performance. So let me explain. If we think about a tree needs a lot of nutrient-dense soil to thrive. That's what leads to the flourishing leaves. But it needs the branches to carry it up to the leaves. It needs the branches to carry the nutrients to the leaves. It's the same with how well-being relates to performance. If you have certain well-being practices, that's like the soil, that's the foundation in which the tree is planted. But to get to the performance outcomes, to really perform at your best, to do your best work, to champion your highest potential, you need specific psychological processes that well-being activates that leads to high performance. So let me give you an example here. Let's take the well-being practice of mindfulness meditation. Now, mindfulness meditation, if you meditate long enough, according to the scientific research, leads to cognitive flexibility, which is the ability to switch tasks, the ability to think differently, the ability to change your mind when that's helpful. That's cognitive flexibility, very helpful psychological process. But mindfulness meditation also increases self-awareness. Mindfulness meditation increases presence, and mindfulness meditation increases attentional control, which is your ability to focus and pay attention. Now, look at these 4 processes that get activated by a well-being practice. It's attentional control, cognitive flexibility, self-awareness, and presence. Guess who this is helpful for? It's helpful for managers. If you're a middle manager, or if you're a line manager or team leader, you want attentional control because you're going to need to focus on the things that are going to push the needle forward for your team. You need cognitive flexibility because oftentimes middle managers have to deal with shifting demands from the people above them, and they also have to deal with things that their team members come to them with. And so they need cognitive flexibility to be able to switch strategies as the ground moves beneath their feet. But they also need self-awareness because if you're a leader, you can't be taking out your personal issues on your team because various team members will evoke certain things in you, and you need good self-awareness to know what's my stuff versus what's this person's stuff. And so these people need to be able to be self-aware and differentiate between those things. And then finally, managers need good presence They need to be very present with their team members because they need to connect with them, they need to understand them, and they need to focus on the work that needs to be done right now in the present moment. This is extremely helpful for managerial performance, all of these psychological processes. And it just so happens that all of these psychological processes are activated by a well-being practice. This is just one example of how well-being leads to psychological processes that lead to managerial performance. Think soil, branches, leaves. This is the analogy you need to know. This is how you move from stress to success, because you focus on the things that make you feel good, like mindfulness, meditation, like good sleep, rest, recovery, journaling, gratitude, many of these things. And then you try to understand the psychological processes that it strengthens and which of those psychological processes would be useful to refine so that you can get the outcomes that you need. Now, there are plenty of processes like this that make up the space between well-being and performance. Tons. You can take a screenshot of that if you'd like, but these are evidence-based processes that lead to well-being and also high performance. They all fit within the Perform Well framework. It just so happens that you can divide this into 9 categories. So there are attentional processes, thinking processes, self-related processes, emotional processes, behavioral processes, motivational processes, biological processes, contextual processes, and social processes. If you know all 9 of these, you will be able to perform really well because you'll make sure that you're engaging in practices that cover the span of all 9 of these domains. And if you do that, my friend, if you focus on these processes that I've listed here, just as a starting point, you will have major success in your life. This is not my opinion. This is what the research says. Every process on this screen has been shown to help with performance, but also protect and preserve well-being. You don't have to choose between the two. And this is what I've been sharing with organizations. I've been sharing this with schools, with hospitals. I've been helping professionals recover from burnout and stress. This is what I do on a daily basis. I've seen people make the transformation. And if you'd like to join this journey, I've created the Perform Well online membership where I've put all of these processes into one place, and the wellbeing practices, I've created tons of videos on it. I host live webinars on a monthly basis. I have a community of professionals and leaders who want to perform at their best without sacrificing their sanity. If that's something you're very interested in, make sure to click the link in the video description. You'll see the Perform Well online membership there. You can learn more about it. Please join us. It's a great community. I think we need more people carrying the torch of mental health and well-being, and not just that of superficial success. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.